the day of the month of Tishrei Tafshin Pei Vav, and we are back with our regular scheduled programming with Baruch Hashem, our 6:15 a.m. start. And we are on Daf Mem Zayin Amud Beis. We are sending out the link to everybody to be able to follow along. And Be'ezras Hashem Baruch, we are continuing the conversation that the Gemara began with a challenge issued by Rav Chisda to Rabba. Just to review it very quickly, Shalach le Rav Chisda Rabba. Rav Chisda sent to Rabba b'yad Rav Acha barei bar Rav Huna in the name with Rav Acha bar Rav Huna. Mi amrin ha'el. How could you possibly say ha'el? This is at the bottom of Mem Zayin Amud Aleph. How could you possibly say this principle of ha'el? That since it's permitted in one way, it would be permitted even if you did it in a different way, or since you'd be allowed to violate an Isra and Yom Tov, since you could have needed to do it in a permissible purpose. And the argument was, V'hatnan, didn't we learn in a Brisa that it is possible for a person to violate 8 Isurim at once if they were to plow a field or plow one furrow, one ditch, make one hole in a field, and the animals involved were a shar and a chamar, and they were kodesh, and it was kilayim b'kerem, and it was shvius, it was shmita, and it was in Yom Tov, and they were a kohen, and they were a nazir, and this was a place that was tameh. That would be the problem of it being a kohen and a nazir. And then Rav Chisda says, "V'yamrin ha'el," and if we say ha'el as you, Rabba, say, "Charisha lo yilei we shouldn't be chayv for charisha ha'el v'chaz lekisui dam tzipor." Since digging a hole on Yom Tov is not fundamentally asur, it would be permissible if it was for the purpose of covering the blood of a bird that you shechted on Yom Tov. Meaning, if you shechted bird on Yom Tov, then you would need at that point to put dirt on top of the blood. Rashi says, like if you had a lot of birds or wild animals, because that's where you would need both for a chaya and for an oif, you would need to do kisei adam. Amar Papa Bar Shmuel says, Papa Bar Shmuel, I'll tell you exactly what the case is, the Kimta of the Brisa. Ba'avan mekur zolot. We're talking about a ditch that you dug. That's where you were plowing in the field. There was avan mekur zolot, where it was rounded stones. And in such a situation where you have rounded stones in the ditch, you would not be able to do kisei adam. Ru'iyus l'kadshan. With round stones, and then you wouldn't be able to do kisei adam. So says the Gemara, that doesn't work. Ru'iyus l'kadshan, you could crush those stones into sand and then use that for kisei adam. Says the Gemara, Katish b'Yom Tov mishari. Since when do we say that you're allowed to crush stones on Yom Tov? You couldn't do that. So we say, no, you could if you would have done it in a way that was non-normative, meaning you crushed it, like we would say, with your left hand. Meaning you did it in a not normal way. That's an isser as well, and yeah, but that's only an isser d'Rabbanan. On a level of deraisa, you still would not have crushed. You still wouldn't have violated Yom Tov. And therefore, if you were to have plowed ba'avanim mekur zalos, then you would have been able to. Then you would have been able to do kisei adam. Says the Gemara, yad. So we say no. So that's not the right akimta for this case. It must have been betzunma. What's betzunma? Betzunma is harder than regular stones. Meaning stones that you couldn't just crush up easily, that are clods. They are you would need heavy machinery to do this. This you wouldn't be able to do kilach yad. They can't be crushed normally. Says the Gemara, but sumner ba'aretz. Yeah, okay. But once you've already said that, you're going to tell me now that it's possible to have planted kilaim. You are plowing kilaim in a field that's made entirely of bedrock. Says the Gemara, no. Tzumna milamala va'afar tichayach milamata. No. It's serious rocks at the top, but underneath it, there's loose earth. You'd be able to plant there. Says the Gemara, v'teipuk lei mishum afar tichayach. So then say that he's not chayiv this 8th Isser of plowing in Yantif because he needed to get to the afar tichayach. That's what he did. He had the animals break through the heavy rock, can't crush it, but he broke it, and now he's got into the afar tichach. And once he has the afar tichach, now he's not violating Yom Tov any longer. So you still don't have a solution to this. Meaning, this is Rav Chisda's discussion. Ela Amar Mar Bar Rav Ashi says Mar Bar Rav Ashi betina. We're talking about not stony earth, but betina, but with clay. The earth is kind of clay material. Says the Gemara, betina bar zuriyahi. You could really plow with tina. You could dig a ditch and then plant things in a clay earth field. Says the Gemara, that's not a good suggestion. What is the better suggestion? B'matunta. Matunta is very swampy earth. Rashi says, Eretz lacha ru'uyel Israel. It is a very wet earth. It's good for planting. Very nice is offer, but it'll never be dirt that you'd be able to cover the blood. If you try to crush it, beket ve'nigvelet, and if you try to crush it, all that it'll do is shmush. You're not going to end up with earth that you could pour on top of the blood. Says the Gemara, Esive Abaya. So Abaya has another kasha against Rabbah, who says hoil. Esive Abaya hamavashel gid hanasha b'chalav. You're talking about somebody that wants to do a lot of isurim here. Chalil, right? Hamavashel gid hanasha b'chalav. Back to the early mornings. Baruch Hashem. Yeah, if you cook the giranasha, the sciatic nerve of an animal, which is an issue deraisa to eat. Bechalav, you cook that in milk, b'yamtiv, on yamtiv, ve'achla, and you ate it. Loike chamesh, you get 5 sets of malchus for these 2 actions. There are 2 actions, yeah? One is mevashel, and one is oichlai. Loike misha mevashel gid b'yamtiv. You get lashes 1 because you cooked a gid anasha on Yom Tov. V'loike mishum oichel hagid, and then you get another isur for eating the gid. V'loike mishum mevashel basa b'chalav. You get malchus for cooking basa b'chalav, meat in milk. V'loike mishum oichel basa b'chalav, and you get another set of malchus for eating basa b'chalav. And v'loike mishum havara, and then you are loike because of stoking the coals, because of making a fire in Yom Tov. And if you believe in the principle of Hayel, you shouldn't be liable for Havara. You shouldn't be liable for Havara, for kindling flame. Because it's entirely possible that you needed to kindle this flame for something else. We have a principle of Hayel, that even if I didn't need to stoke these coals for the Bas B'chalav Kid Anashe, I might have needed to stoke those coals for something else, since I could have used for something else. I shouldn't be chayav. Rashi says, Mishum Havara, Shaloi L'tzarech, for no good reason. Da'avar malacha la'atzma. Says Rashi, you need to know, Havara is one malacha, Uvishal malacha la'atzma, and cooking is another malacha for itself. Says the Gemara, if you don't believe in oil, so then, and if you believe in oil, then you shouldn't be chayav. Amar lei, so Rabbah says to him, or defending Rabbah, but yeah, says the Gemara, Amar lei, so he says to him, Avik Habara, ve'ayal gid hanasha shel nevela. No. The list is not including havara. You have 5 lavim, but one of them is not havara. Havara, you would be potter because va'ayal gid hanasha shel nevela, and say no. This is a gid hanasha of a nevela. It's not a gid hanasha of a kasha animal, of an animal that was a shchuta. It is a gid hanasha of a nevela, and that would be your fifth isur. Didn't teach us about this case that you get 2 sets of malchus for the eating and 3 for the cooking. Remember the 2 actions here. One is cooking it and one is eating it. And Ruchia had told us that you get 2 sets of malchus for eating and 3 for cooking. V'i isa, and if it is as you said that it's an avela, so then you should get 3 for eating. 3 for eating and only 2 for cooking. So, meaning for the isurim involved in cooking. Ella afik havara, rather take out havara. Havara is not the 5th one. Vail atze muktzah, and say that the thing that you're chai for is for handling trees that are muktzah, handling wood that's muktzah. Says the Gemara, muktzah deraisa? Really? Muktzah is an issur deraisa. How would you be chayv because of muktzah? Marley says to him, absolutely. Muktzah is deraisa. How do you know that muktzah is deraisa? The pasuk says, "V'hayu b'yom hashishi" was on the 6th day. Vehichinos asher yaviu, and they prepared all that they were going to. They may prepare all that they're going to bring in. So the pasuk in Sefer Shmos that says that you are supposed to prepare everything that you need before Shabbos and Yantiv. Rashi says on the pasuk vehichinu says Rashi b'mezuman, you have to prepare something so that it is available. She mezuman kol tzorcha, that is completely prepared. Hayom, today, v'yom davar zel tzorcha hayom, and you should say this thing is for today. D'mishum tzorch melecha Shabbos lo tzorich, because for Shabbos I don't need this. V'aksiv, and the pasuk says, the aksiv is asher tafu efu v'asher tavashlu b'shelu, that which you need to bake, you baked, and that which you need to cook, you should have cooked. All these things mean ba'od yom from Erev Shabbos. They came in the lav mezumanu, and since this is not ready and prepared, meaning this wood is not prepared, v'akasav kar oy hachana, and the pasuk referred to this as preparing. Have you la malacha? It is a malacha. It's a bonafide malacha. Va'over ala mishum lo yisasek kol malacha. Now you're going to violate the issur of lo yisasek kol malacha. She says va'azarasa me'acha, and the azara, meaning the warning, the pasuk in the Torah that tells you that you are not allowed to violate the issur of muktzah, of handling muktzah, is milay ta'aseh kol malacha. From the pasuk that says don't violate any malacha on Yom Tov. Let's say kol malacha, meaning on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Says the Gemara, Amarle, so he says to him, V'ha'at de'amart, aren't you the one that said, telling us the following story? Ba minei mirav chista, that I asked Rav Chista. V'amri la ba minei mirav Huna, and some say that the teaching was that he asked it from Rav Huna. Hevi seme ifer, that if you brought a lamb from outside the town, meaning a muktzah lamb, it's not one that you have designated, that you have set aside. V'shachta tamid, and you shechted it as a korban tamid. B'yamtiv, on yamtiv, ma, what is the din? V'at amrat lan, you told us Allah about this case. Quoting from the pasuk in Yechezkel. Pasuk in Yechezkel says as follows: Seh, with regards to the way of learning this pasuk is Seh. When the pasuk says Seh, it means v'lo habachar, it's not a firstborn, meaning a regular lamb, and not a firstborn lamb. V'lo habachar. Achas, one, v'lo meiser, and not an animal that was meisers. Min hatzon, from the flock, v'lo hapalges, and not one that is a little bit older. Rashi points out that Yatzut Michlal Kevis, It is no longer a sheep, but it's not yet a ram. That's called a palgas. So it has to be min atzayin, means it is younger than a year old. Min hamasayim, from the 200s. What does it mean from the 200s? Moisar shtei meos shenishtar b'char. Meaning from the remainder of the 200 that are in the pit. Mikan la'orla shebetel b'matayim. From here you learn the din that orla is batal in 200. Sometimes things are batal in 60. Sometimes things are batal in 100, and orla is batal in 200. Mi Mashi Yisrael, the pasuk says Mashi Yisrael, from the watered pastures of the Jewish people. So min hamutar liyisrael, that which is permissible for a Jew. We're on Mem Chesam Aleph. Mikan Amr, from here they said ein mevin nisachim min hatevel, that you cannot bring for nisach yayin, you cannot bring that from tevel, from grapes that have not been tithed. There's no trumas of Maseches that you've taken off yet. Maybe this also means that you cannot bring from muktzah, from that which is not set aside from Erev Yantiv. Amart, then you said ma tevel miyuchad, just like tevel is miyuchad, is unique. She isur gufa garam lai, that it has a fundamental isur not to be able to use it. Tevel is an isur guf. Avkol she isur gufay garam, everything that has an isur gufay, that has the isur of its substance, this thing itself is asur, that's also going to be prohibited. Yatsa muktzah, this excludes muktzah. She'en isur gufay garam, that muktzah is not fundamentally asur. It's just the thing that you haven't set aside for yantiv. But it is a separate isur. There's a different reason for this isur. It's only asur because its owner has made it muktzah. Muktzah means not something that is used on Yom Tov. It's not set aside for Yom Tov usage or Shabbos usage. V'i amar isur muktzah deraisa. And if you believe that muktzah is a din deraisa, this is coming back to the whole conversation. If you believe that muktzah is a din deraisa, why would I care whether it is fundamentally asur or if it is asur because it wasn't set aside for yantiv usage? That is the question that has been levied against Rav Chisda. From Rav Chisda, that the Gemara has issued on the possibility that the isur that we are saying, in our okimta of 5 isurim that you violate for cooking the gid hanashe on Yom Tov, that one of them, we tried to say one of them is muktzah. And we said muktzah is muktzah deraisa. We said, yeah, muktzah is deraisa. And then we just proved from this very long limud from the pasuk in Yechezkel that muktzah is arguably, clearly, not a din deraisa. Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we will continue with the next part of this kasha and the next part of the discussion tomorrow morning, 6:15. Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach. Looking forward to seeing you there, and have a marvelous and beautiful and wonderful day and first start to a whole week. It's our first whole week since the Yom Tov season. Everybody should have a beautiful week. Please God, it should be all good things for Klal Yisrael. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.